Good morning, dear viewers. Welcome to the next Nigerian President Newspaper Review for the 19th of September 2022. I am Anchi Bufwe. Today we'll be reviewing topics and issues that made headlines on national dailies. And with us here, we have a publisher, the publisher of Balance magazine, Dayo Omogu. Dayo, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Anne. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So the first newspaper on our table is Leadership, and the headline, 9 days to go, APC, PDP, Labour Party, others strategize, fine-tune campaign machineries. This can be found on page 4 of Leadership. And the rider goes, my campaign team will lead PDP to victory. Atiku. Tambuwal's appointment, plot against South, says Wike's camp. Tinubu appoints Yahaya Bello as youth campaign coordinator. Labour Party to leverage organized labor structure. So concerning this, the flag off of the campaign would be taking place on the 28th of September 2022. So 9 days to go, and the parties are preparing towards this campaign. So what do you have to say? And Atiku has come out to say confidently that his campaign team would lead PDP to victory. What do you have to say about this?
Well, the thing is, every contestant gets into the race to win. So it's not surprising that Abubakar Atiku would say that. But of course, there are many people who believe that he has a very good chance in the coming elections, barring, if not for certain circumstances that have occurred in the last few weeks. There were people who thought it was going to even be a straight win for Atiku this time around. That is his best chance, especially because the electoral process has been cleaned up. You have beavers, machines right now, so the chances of electoral malpractices are thoroughly cut down. So many people believe that he had a good chance, but that's not to say that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not have a very fantastic chance also, or that you could just shrug off someone like Peter Obi. This is going to be a very keenly contested elections. For the first time, you're going to have at least a three-horse race. Usually in Nigeria, what we've had in the last how many election cycles has been a two-horse race. It's either PDP or the other party. It has always been that way. It's either PDP. In the last one, it was PDP, APC. And then you had PDP, what was the other popular party? It has always been a two-horse race. But this time around, we're looking at a three-horse race at least. We're going to be looking at PDP, looking at APC, and looking at LP. So no one man, because elections again are very unpredictable. Anything could happen. And of course, they are fine-tuning their strategies right now. Everything will be at a fever pitch right now. But I can also say for free that PDP is also not truly together at this time. I mean, putting Wike in a campaign team where Tambuwal, who did him in at the primary elections, putting him in as just a name on the list is not going to benefit PDP. You probably have someone who is still embittered and will be looking for an opportunity to strike from within. And an internal enemy is more dangerous than someone from outside.
Indeed, an internal enemy is more dangerous from an outsider. But on their campaigns, do you feel their manifestos would be the same recycled manifestos we get year to year?
It wouldn't be surprising if there are no real major differences, because the issues that were there in 2015 are still the issues that are there right now. For example, when APC came in, they made a song and dance that they were going to fix security, the economy, and tackle corruption. Those issues are still not dealt with. They're still the issues that we're facing. So I won't be surprised to find out that most of their manifestos will also center around these issues. I mean, everybody wants this insecurity thing. It's become like a nightmare, a long nightmare. Everybody wants it to be over. Everybody's praying, okay, let day break at least. When there's a nightmare in the night, you're praying the day should just break now. And then that's what we're praying in Nigeria, that the day of peace and security will break. And so most of the manifestos are going to be talking about that, because definitely without security, there can be no progress. Indeed. Without security, there's nothing, no development can happen. So security is key, and all the parties will definitely be using that as one of their major campaign issues.
All right. Moving on to the next, we have the Punch. FG grants 16 trillion naira waiver to Dangote, Honeywell, others. And the rider goes, duty waivers, tax relieves goods for economy but discriminatory. Economists slam FG. South Africa earned $170 billion tax revenue in 2021. Nigeria, $15 billion behind Kenya, Angola.
Wow.
Revenue slumps as debt servicing gulp 6.16 trillion naira in 16 months, says DMO report. So this is quite an interesting.
This is a very serious matter. Now, you just read that South Africa earned 170 something billion dollars compared to Nigeria's $15 billion. So, I mean, just look at the gulf between the two. Now, we're talking about, I mean, it shows that, first of all, we have a problem with tax management. It shows that, first of all, we have a problem with capturing, I mean, having a proper tax net. It means that several persons are operating, because if you say that this economy is bigger than South African economy, how then do they earn more tax than we do? I mean, these things should bother anybody who's in government. These things should bother the Ministry of Finance. These things should bother the Ministry of National Planning. These things should bother the presidency itself. I mean, how, if you say your economy is far bigger than South Africa, if we have 200 and something million persons as our population figure, and then South Africa has probably something like 60 million or something, how on earth, even if it was on the basis of personal income tax, how on earth can South Africa perform us in tax collection? So there's a huge problem. Number one, you can be sure that we're not managing our tax processes well. Number two, we don't have data, sufficient data to really capture every single person who ought to be paying tax. And then to make it worse, you can be sure that there are leakages in the system through corruption. So these must be the factors that have accounted for that. But it's a most terrible thing. Now, we have a situation where they are giving tax waivers to companies when we are in crisis of revenue shortfall. I don't understand it. Especially because you are giving those tax waivers to companies that are doing very well on their own. If we are going to give tax waivers and you are giving them to up-and-coming organizations that need to support, that need to stand well, that need to blossom before they begin to pay tax, I can understand that. But for you to give Honeywell, for you to give Dangote tax waivers because you say they are going to be using it to now do some key infrastructure, I think it's unfair. I think what it also says is this, because it's really like, which one comes first? Which one is more important? Is it the man or the child? Is it the egg or the hen or whatever? See, I think that the fear is that even when these revenues come in as tax, they are not managed well by government. So government is like shifting the responsibility of deploying those resources to the organizations, because what we heard when they were talking about these tax waivers was, okay, they would be fixing certain roads. I know that Dangote was given some roads to fix in exchange for the tax waivers. I know that some of these other companies were told to fix certain infrastructure and all that. It's a beautiful proposal, but are we sure that it's being done as transparently as possible? Are we sure that in spite of these tax waivers, that it's not resulting in double jeopardy, that you still give them tax waivers and the purpose for which you gave the tax waivers are still not achieved? Because there's this thinking, there's this negative economic theory that says if you tax the rich, then they won't be able to provide jobs for the poor. Okay, but the truth is that whether you tax the rich or not in Nigeria, how many people are getting employed? We need to address that. We need to look at that. There has to be a balance. There has to be we have to take some of these issues a lot more seriously than we're doing right now. Because we shouldn't just jump on theories or policies and we don't have the ability to implement them in the proper, there's what is called global best practice, the global best standards. So this is key. I can't understand why you will give 16 trillion naira to just a few companies. And then, if you read through, you'll find out that you still have about 186 other companies who are also justly applying, please give us tax waiver. What that will do is that apart from these 186 that are on the waiting list, what stops my own company from applying? What stops every other person's company from applying? And at the end, then we will be in a mess because revenue that has dwindled already will totally be on the floor and government will be handicapped. We already have a situation where government is borrowing to pay even salaries. We're not talking capital projects, borrowing to pay salaries. I mean, that's a terrible place to be.
Indeed. So, okay. Which of the leading candidates, that's the candidates of the PDP, APC, and the Labour Party, which of the leading candidates do you feel will be able to solve this issue?
That's an economic issue, that's a financial issue. I think that if you look at the antecedents, all of them come, I mean the three leading contestants, they come with some pedigree. But the truth is that we have seen Abubakar Atiku in government at the federal level before. He's the only one among the three who has had federal experience. Whether you like it or not, you know, it's so easy to think, when I get there, I'll do it. But it's different from someone who's been there before. It's like ever before I got behind the camera to ever, I mean, it's one thing to think, oh, I can do this. It's another thing to really get there and do it. So someone who has gotten there and done it before, you tend to have a greater level of trust on such a person. Because, I mean, you can say any other thing against Atiku, but the truth is that under their regime, the Obasanjo Atiku regime, we had a situation where even our loans that had been borrowed long before they came in, they tackled it. They ensured that we got a reprieve. Okay, you could say some other things that some monies were not properly, but I have this feeling that an Atiku Abubakar will be in a position to draw the right kind of persons to work for him. Till today, we can testify that he brought in some technocrats into governance. I mean, the El Rufais of this world, great people like that, Okonjo Iweala, and then that was why they had a fantastic economic team that did wonders during their regime. So I look forward, I believe that he has the magic, he knows how to gather the right team. One of the greatest skills a leader must possess is the ability to identify the kind of persons, the quality of persons, the skill sets that such persons must possess for them to help him accomplish his target goals. And so I think that this is one of the things that Atiku Abubakar has. But I also can tell you that this can also be said of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because we see some of his lieutenants since he left office who are still carrying on and doing Lagos good. So, and then you cannot wish away a Peter Obi also. So, but let's wait till the campaign starts so that we can hear all of them out and see what they have for each of the sectors. And then on the basis of that, we'll have a better basis on which to assess them.
Right, thank you very much. We have another story that made the headlines: 22 killed in Abuja, Lagos, Ogun crashes. 12 hospitalized. This can be found on page 4 and 5 of the Punch. So the issue of auto crash these days have become very, very overwhelming. People are scared to even travel by roads because we have bad roads, endless accidents everywhere. So which of the leading candidates do you feel would be able to provide us with good roads? Which of the
I think the first thing is to look at what are the causative factors for these road accidents. Number one is indiscipline among drivers who, even knowing that their vehicles are not in top position, are not in very good health, they still would want to overspeed, because all that is motivating them is cash, the ability to go quickly and make another trip and make more money, and they do not consider the needs of other road users a lot of times. And then again, if you talk about the indiscipline of drivers, you would also be talking indirectly, impliedly, about the failure of law enforcement agents to checkmate some of these things that they do. Because I see every day in Abuja, even in Abuja, you find out that there are 2 persons sitting in front. There are 4 persons sitting at the back of small cars. And that is not what those vehicles were designed to carry. So already you have challenged the vehicle. And you are challenging also the driver because it doesn't have enough space to be able to maneuver. And then by that same token, you are also causing a whole lot of distraction because the more number that you have, the more persons, the more needs that you have to deal with. And so that's one. Then there are terrible roads, like you mentioned. There's a particular portion of the Abuja Lokoja Road. I wonder why something has not been done about that for so many years. As soon as you're coming from Abaji, and you're coming inside, there's a portion of that road. I don't know whether it's around this Yangoji. I don't know because this accident in the Abuja one happened around Yangoji. Now I don't know whether it is Yangoji, but there's a portion of that road that is uneven. If you're driving, you'll find out that the surface is uneven. If you don't hold tightly to the steering wheel, it tends to be turning you in a different direction. It tends to be moving the vehicle on its own. Direction. So that's very unsafe. If you speed on such a place, you could get into a place where you lose control. These are simple things that can be taken care of. It's been there. So now, what we're talking about by that question will be that who is the candidate who is likely to deliver infrastructure, take care of roads and instill discipline and ensure that, human life is safe. Well, like I said just a while ago, none of them, apart from Atiku who's been talking a few things and maybe Peter Obi, I think that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's camp have deliberately refused to put too much in the public domain. So by 28th and going forward from 28th of this month, we'll be able to know exactly what's in their mind. But the truth also is that in terms of infrastructure, you'll find that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been consistent. In fact, he had a 25-year development plan even while he was leaving office. And that's what most of the governors after him have continued to follow and deliver on. Just recently, they talked about a blue rail line that is coming into place in Lagos. These things are contained in a document that had been prepared long before. That's foresight, that's vision. Now, I do not know, you can't say that also of Peter Obi. Oh, yes, he delivered roads. In fact, when he was there, he delivered, I think, over 100 roads that linked. It was the best linked state when he was governor. In fact, they had very, very good road networks in that state when he was governor. But after leaving, was there anything that he left to prepare whoever is coming in to follow? That's not there. So if somebody like Tinubu had something in place, that means he was looking beyond his own tenure, then you can be sure that such a person is passionate enough about infrastructure. So I think that, well, the three of them, I believe, have all it takes. But I think that in terms of infrastructure, I think that someone like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu might just be the key. But you see, it will then mean that every voter has to look at the deal breaker. What's the deal breaker for you? Are you an infrastructure man? Are you an education man? Are you an economy man? You prioritize and say, okay, for me, all I'm concerned about is economy, and so this is the person I'll go for. All I'm concerned about is infrastructure. If we can get our infrastructure right, then I think this is the person who's going to deliver it. Then you give him your vote, and that's what I think is going to play out.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to the next, we have the Daily Trust, and the leading story: how bandits leader Toji escaped NAF bombings. So this is another. It's.
I tell you, we're a very funny country. It shows failure of intel. It shows that the intelligence they got was not perfect.
Reliable.
Yeah, because I think little snippets I saw about that story was that intels gave them a particular location, but they had gone to pray. Now, my understanding is that if you are in a particular location, where you go to pray is not likely to be that far.
Indeed.
So nobody is going to live here now. You live in this place, and then you go and pray in Kubwa. I don't think it will ever happen. Or you go and pray in Gwagwalada. Or you go and pray in Lube. No, you will pray around somewhere that is a little bit close by. So even if Intel told you that they were here, if you are shelling this place, I do not see how you will not be able to also see, maybe from the radar or something, how you will not be able to pick that, oh, no, there's a slight movement. This is where they are right now. And then do your hit. I'm shocked that they could come and report again that this man escaped. Again, unless I'm mixing things up, I thought that this is the same man who got into a ceasefire agreement with the communities late last year and who was given a chieftaincy title. I hope I'm not mixing it up, but I do know that he, late last year, got into a ceasefire, a peace agreement with the communities, and he said he was going to stop, but he has gotten back again. It shows you, and this government needs to learn, that these people never truly ever change. So the concept of rehabilitation of terrorists is a misnomer. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing on the psyche of the ordinary Nigerian. It's terrible to the soldiers who are fighting every day to contain them. It's a shame, it's ingratitude to the families of people, of soldiers who have lost their lives, of soldiers who have lost a limb, of the families of soldiers who have been broken psychologically and physically. Then these people who carried out these terrible acts of terrorism, then you bring them and say that they have repented and that, oh, you are rehabilitating them. Yet there are soldiers who have lost a limb, who have lost their lives, who have lost their eyes, who have lost their arms, who have lost parts of their body, who some of them mentally can never be the same again. And then the people who did this, you say you forgive them. No, I think it's so terrible. I think that this government must stop that attitude, that concept, the entire concept of, oh, we are rehabilitating repented terrorists. It's a terrible thing. That's the same thing. See, I am sure that if we dig deep, we might just find out that this guy also had intel.
Yes,
that
indeed.
These people were coming. Don't be surprised. He may not have opened up to everybody. He may even have used that decoy of going to pray to protect his people. It may be that they actually didn't go and pray. They just got information and moved.
And left before.
And moved. How can, you see, there's a way we get these stories. We begin to present those terrorist leaders as cats with 9 lives, or 90 lives, in fact. But it's not true. It's because there's some complicity. Once that complicity is broken between the authorities, between the forces, and these terrorists, I tell you, it's nothing to clear up this terrorism. But I think, and I feel sure that there's something. There are hands. There is a network of hands between these forces and these terrorists, and that's what we must take care of. And I believe that somebody like Atiku will be able to deal with that. In fact, I believe that even a Peter Obi will be able to deal with that. I believe that. I don't see why even Tinubu Bola Ahmed Asiwaju will not be able to deal with that, because these are people who have tasted power. They know what it is when you have a force that is struggling to take control. It's like those people are operating like a government of their own. I mean, you can't, if you truly have self-respect, I think that the officials of this government must have some self-respect for themselves, especially for people who are retired military officers. They should have some self-respect and say, look, I can't be in government, and then some ragtag people begin to take us for a ride. There was this saying in those days by IBB that we're not just in government, we're not just in government, we're in power. You can't be in power and some ragtag army is taking you for a ride. I think enough is enough. But I think that the new government, they must know that whoever gets in will be assessed very seriously on the issue of security. We can't joke any longer. So it's up to them, but I think that because again, Atiku has some paramilitary experience. He was in the customs. First of all, he was in the police, and then he was in the customs. So he probably has that. And then he has been VP, vice president. It's not something that anybody can just toy with, because that's number 2 man. That means when President Obasanjo was not around, he took charge as commander-in-chief. I mean, those experiences can come in very handy for an Atiku.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I feel the next Nigerian president, the person who is coming in to be the next Nigerian president, must have the capacity.
Yes, the willpower to deal with,
and the ability to employ the right form of
kind
technology.
Of persons, exactly.
Yes.
And technology.
If technology is employed in this, the satellites working and everything. the issue of terrorism.
It also boils down to the issue of corruption. The truth is that if you put some of those technological apparatus in place, you'll find out that there are persons who will go and, I read a report about cameras that are supposed to be used in the ports, and that a certain particular paramilitary group that is supposed to be part of that process went and destroyed those cameras because it was frustrating their nefarious activities. That's where we are. So whoever is going to take over must have the willpower to deal with everything that is dealing with us.
Thank you very much. It was indeed an interesting time having you over, Dio Mogu.
Thank you very much, Anne.
Thank you for joining
and
us.
I hope that people are able to make the right choice so that we can have the best next Nigerian president.
Thank you very much, our viewers. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying with us. It was indeed an interesting session. Make sure you follow us on our social media handles. For Twitter at NGNextPresident, the Next Nigerian President for Instagram, at the Next Nigerian President for our YouTube channel, and for Facebook, Next Nigerian President. Make sure you go out today, get a copy of the newspaper, and read the stories for yourself. Thank you once again. I am Anne Chibufwe.